Have you ever taken ibuprofen for joint pain, muscle pain, inflammation, or that annoying pain that seems to never go away? Many people live like this, depending on these medications to function in their daily lives. I am EDU Rodriguez, a pharmacist, biochemist, and health educator, and today I want to talk to you very clearly and honestly about something that draws a lot of attention in science: natural substances that can act on various mechanisms of inflammation at the same time, unlike most common pain relievers. And no, I'm not talking about miracles or abandoning medical treatment. I'm talking about understanding what happens in the body and using that information to take better care of health in the long term. When we talk about pain and inflammation, we need to understand one basic thing. The body has true biochemical switches that turn inflammatory processes on and off. It's not just one pathway. There are several systems working together. Some produce pain signals. Others activate inflammatory genes. Others function as an amplifier, keeping the inflammation going for longer. And there is also a type of emergency alarm that keeps ringing even after the initial problem has passed. That's why many times you take a medication, feel a little better, but the pain returns days later. The whole process hasn't been resolved. Ibuprofen, for example, is very effective at shutting down one of those main pathways. It quickly cuts the production of substances related to pain and inflammation, which is why it works well for acute crises. The problem is that these same pathways also participate in the protection of the stomach and kidneys. When you frequently block this, side effects such as gastritis, ulcers, and kidney overload can arise. Furthermore, ibuprofen practically does not act on the other inflammatory mechanisms that I just mentioned. The result: the person needs to use it repeatedly because the system as a whole remains activated. Paracetamol is different. It works more in the brain, shutting down the perception of pain, but it hardly affects the inflammation in the tissue. It helps to not feel, but it doesn't resolve the inflammatory process itself. Aspirin also focuses on one of those main pathways, but it can irritate the stomach and increase the risk of bleeding in some people. Each medication has its role, but none of them is perfect or risk-free, especially when used frequently without guidance. Now comes something that science has been studying more and more: natural compounds that can modulate several of these switches at the same time. One of the best known is turmeric, that yellow spice used in cooking, but mainly its concentrated active principle, curcumin. It is curcumin that has a potent anti-inflammatory action, not the pinch of seasoning you sprinkle on your egg or rice. To have a relevant effect, we are talking about standardized extracts, usually associated with black pepper, because it greatly increases absorption in the intestine. Clinical studies in humans, randomized and controlled, have shown that doses around 1,500 milligrams of curcumin combined with black pepper may have effects comparable to ibuprofen for pain and inflammation in certain situations, with a different side effect profile and, generally, better tolerated by many people. What stands out in these studies is that curcumin does not act on just one pathway. It reduces the activity of several of these inflammatory switches at the same time, decreasing the production of pain mediators, reducing the genetic activation of inflammation, and attenuating the systems that prolong the process. This helps explain why some people report overall improvement in joint pain, muscle pain, or chronic inflammation when using this type of supplement in a guided manner. But I want to emphasize, this is not to replace medical supervision, nor should anyone start taking any capsules on their own. Each person has different medical histories, illnesses, medications in use, and risks. Information is meant to facilitate better conversations with healthcare professionals, not for self-medication. In addition to concentrated turmeric, there are other interesting foods and natural substances from an inflammatory perspective. Extra virgin olive oil, for example, contains phenolic compounds that act in pathways similar to those of anti-inflammatories, but in a milder and more continuous manner. That slight burning sensation in your throat when you consume real olive oil is not a defect. It's a sign of those active compounds. Using olive oil regularly in salads and preparations is a simple and smart strategy for long-term health. Ginger is also underestimated. It mainly acts in pathways that function as amplifiers of inflammation, helping to reduce the maintenance of the inflammatory process. Omega-3, found in fatty fish and fish oil supplements, also acts in these amplifying pathways and has extensive literature showing benefits for chronic inflammation, joints, and cardiovascular health. Curcumin, in turn, seems to target even more different mechanisms. There is also an herb called boswellia, which has been extensively studied for its role in that late inflammatory alarm system that remains active even after the initial stimulus has passed. This helps to understand why some people with chronic inflammatory diseases report benefits from this type of extract. But now comes the most important part of this whole conversation. I can talk about turmeric, ginger, olive oil, omega-3, and various other substances, but if the root of the problem is not addressed, you will continue to be just treading water. The question I always ask is, what is triggering those inflammatory switches in your body every day? Science points to some major culprits. One of the main ones is insulin resistance, which arises from excessive consumption of sugar, flour, ultra-processed foods, frequent snacking throughout the day, and certain industrial oils. People with insulin resistance live in a state of chronic low-grade inflammation, often without realizing it. Another huge factor is damage to the mitochondria, which are the power plants of the cells. This can result from a sedentary lifestyle, excessive training without recovery, poor sleep, smoking, alcohol, and a nutrient-poor diet. Chronic oxidative stress also takes a heavy toll. It increases with pollution, smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, and a diet based on processed foods. Leaky gut, known as leaky intestine, can allow fragments of bacteria to enter the bloodstream and trigger inflammation throughout the body. This is also related to certain dietary patterns. Additionally, there are chronic infections or latent viruses that can reignite inflammatory processes, especially in highly stressed individuals. Do you realize that it's not just about taking something for pain? It's about changing the internal environment of the body. Strategies like reducing ultra-processed foods, cutting down on excess sugar and flour, improving dietary patterns, respecting meal times, and in some cases, using intermittent fasting with proper guidance can have a profound impact on inflammation over time. Sleeping better, moving regularly, managing stress, all of this directly interacts with these biochemical systems. Some nutrients are also essential. Magnesium helps with muscle function and can reduce pain and spasms. Vitamin D plays an important role in modulating the immune and inflammatory systems. Zinc is involved in numerous cellular repair processes. The balance between omega-3 and omega-6 is crucial, and today most people consume excess omega-6 due to industrial oils. Now let me ask you something. Are you only treating the symptom, or are you looking at the root of the problem? How many times have you taken a painkiller without thinking about why that pain appears so frequently? This reflection changes everything. If you are enjoying this type of deeper and more practical explanation, take a moment to subscribe to the EDU Health Tips channel, activate the bell, and leave a like. This helps the channel grow and allows this content to reach more people. And comment down below. Do you suffer more from joint pain, muscle pain, or recurring inflammation? I create this content precisely to help you understand your body and make more conscious decisions in your daily life. It's not about promising eternal youth. It's about aging with less pain, more mobility, and a better quality of life. If you know someone who relies on anti-inflammatories, share this video. Sometimes, information like this opens the door to simple changes that make a huge difference over the years. I'll be signing off here. Take care, stay with God, and we'll see each other in the next video here on EDU Health Tips.